Okay, let's start. प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहं सगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। ॐ ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We'll chant from verses 24 to the end of chapter 7. Verse number 24 to the end. There are 30 verses in this chapter. Okay. Avyaktam vyaktimaapannam मन्यन्ते माम बुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तः ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको मामजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ताः भजन्ते मां त्रिडाव्रताः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः। Okay. We'll start with questions. I'll just before I take up what was posted last time. Yes, I think last time Yashoji asked a question. Is he here? How do you increase, or how do you develop this Eka Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti? Beautiful concept of Ananya Bhakti or Eka Bhakti. The intensity of bhakti culminates in Ananya Bhakti, no other thought. The intensity of Jnanam culminates in only interest and focus in Brahma Vidya, no other thought. So all these paths converge to that single pointed focus, which is dhyanam. Eka bhakti is nothing but dhyanam, single pointed concentration. So, how to develop this eka bhakti? To develop eka bhakti, first you'll have to develop bhakti. And as I've always told you, that bhakti doesn't come easy. Bhakti is not something that you can pick off a shelf and say, I'm a bhakta. You may claim you're a bhakta, but does the Lord qualify you as a bhakta? So, I just thought that, philosophy on one side, but very practically, what is the essence of eka bhakti? First of all, developing bhakti is essential. And how do you develop that bhakti? Love for God and love for oneself are inversely proportional. The bigger, the fatter, the thicker your ego, me, I, me, my thoughts, my feelings, my things, the far removed you are from bhakti. Love for God is an opportunity to free yourself from your own entanglement with yourself. So, bhakti only happens, it's a result of the dissolution of your own ego, which is why all of this sadhana is there. Bhakti only happens when you expand the circle of your identification, your own capacity to feel, acknowledge, see things beyond yourself. So expanding the circle of your identification means, can you see beyond yourself for your family, beyond your family for your entire household, extended family, beyond the extended family for your community, beyond your extended community to your entire world at large. When I say circle of identification, the capacity to identify, the capacity to resonate, the capacity to empathize, that's it. You may not be in a position to change the world, and really changing the world is like straightening a dog's tail. That's not what we are implying. But that capacity to feel, the capacity to resonate, the capacity to celebrate their joys, the capacity to identify with their pain. How do you know bhakti is developing in you? Not only when you can identify the pain of others, when you can even celebrate the joy of others. It means you have gotten over your own. See, otherwise people personalize it. They look at the other's joys and they say, I wish mere paas bhi hota. If that thought comes to you, you have failed in the exam of bhakti. I'm not saying you have to force that thought out. You can't force that thought out. Only when slowly this knowledge works on you, that thought will automatically disappear. I'm telling you, and trust me, I'm telling you from experience. This is not philosophy. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta. Beautiful words from Adi Shankaracharya. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta. The chinta will only go. It'll become less and less and less and less. So, Eka Bhakti, how do you develop Eka Bhakti? First, develop Bhakti. That will automatically happen. And how will you develop Bhakti? Immerse yourself in sadhana. Whichever sadhana. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga of, the sadhana of Bhakti Yoga is not Bhakti in itself. It's the means, it's the avenue to do sadhana. That will eventually develop this deeper capacity which is called Bhakti. Just like studying the scripture is not jnanam in itself. The study of the scripture will develop that insight. That insight is jnanam. That oneness is bhakti. And you'll realize they're one and the same. Insight, oneness, detachment, selflessness, they're all the same quality. All these paths merge. In fact, As we always say, you need all these paths. You need all these sadhanas. So that's the way to develop Eka Bhakti. Okay. There was a question put on the group. I'm guessing, is this from the text? Rashmi ji? Question for verse 22, chapter 7. Oh, my bad. Today I didn't feel like sharing the mic with you guys. Now you can unmute.
हरिओम सर सर फॉर पेटी थिंग्स सिल्वर $90 है, मेरे तो लॉन्ग नहीं है, उसकी लॉन्ग
हरिओम
तो तब तो भक्ति तो बहुत दूर दूर तक नहीं है फिर तो सर।
भक्ति तो दूर दूर तक नहीं है, सही बोला आपने।
ये तो बहुत छोटी सी चीज है, मतलब सच अ पेटी थिंग।
मैं सोच रहा था कि गोवा में प्रॉपर्टी के प्राइसेस बढ़ने वाले, बिकॉज लोगों ने सिल्वर में इतना पैसा कमाया है। हाँ। अब ये पैसा जाएगा कहाँ? अब ये सारा पैसा दिल्ली मुंबई से गोवा आएगा। दैट्स अनदर वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट। मजा। पीपल आर क्रिएटिंग जनरेशन वेल्थ, गुड फॉर देम। देखिए, जब तक किसी चीज में लगाव है ना, किसी चीज में अटैचमेंट है, एंड व्हाट इज अटैचमेंट मीन? अटैचमेंट मीन्स ए डिसप्रोपोर्शनेट वैल्यू। वहां माइनस आइनस आएगा ही। अटैचमेंट का मीनिंग मतलब ही है आइनस माइनस। दैट इज व्हाट अटैचमेंट मीन्स। Extreme attachment means, for me, at all costs, at the cost of others. So these are the ingredients of ego. This is how ego plays. Personalization.
Sir, even if it is not at the cost of others, but mine
One is, I'm only talking about the extremities.
Yeah.
It's a difference of degree. It grows into a vicious form where it can be at the expense of others. Understanding the nature of the world. See, the world doesn't reward cuteness. The world is a brutal place. We think we are above the law of the jungle, but that's not what it is. Developing. The world doesn't reward cuteness. And wishing for others' kindness on you is stupidity. You're not seeing the world as it is. And then you go into this, rabbit hole of feelings. उसने मेरे लिए नहीं किया तो मैं भी उसके लिए नहीं करूँगा। भगवान ने आपको बुद्धि दी है, अपना एनालिसिस करो। सिल्वर जाएगा 90, 100, 150। अगर जाएगा तो मेरे को भी बता दो। हाँ। So life is to give.
Sir, one basic thing which I think you've repeated, but I think we still need to understand अगर if we get that, sir, how to overcome this attachment? Because आप जो बोल रहे हो सब चीज
How to overcome this? I was just coming to that only. See, why are you feeling like this? Because you feel you don't have enough. मेरे को चाहिए, मेरे को नहीं मिला, उसके पास है, उसको पता था, उसने मुझे नहीं बोला सही समय में. Why all these thoughts coming? Because you feel what you have is not enough. You are not conscious of everything that you have received. That quotient of gratitude is not there. Now we're not forcing you to feel gratitude. We're not forcing you to feel gratitude. Gratitude is a natural result of that awareness of the largest of nature, what you have received. You're only quantifying it in terms of a certain kind of wealth, and that also focusing on what you don't have. So it's a self-victimization. So this is the play of attachment. Now, the only way you open your eyes and slowly work towards detachment is through all these tools we have given you. Number one, on the side of devotion, seeing the splash of divinity all around you. What are you complaining about? When you look at your peers, you feel a sense of ego. When you look at those above you or below you, it's not there. You're not angry at Goldman Sachs for being long silver, or you're not angry at some billionaire for being long silver. You're angry at your peer for being long silver. What about your poor domestic help who has no idea about all these wealth creating opportunities? We still bicker about them, giving them 500 rupees extra or 500 rupees less. If you start seeing their position, how blessed are you that you have the position to even discuss on these things? So देखने का नजरिया जब आप बदलोगे, तभी एक एटीट्यूड ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड आएगा, तभी एक अवेयरनेस ऑफ एवरीथिंग दैट इज आएगा. then you'll stop being then you'll stop being attached. Then you'll be able to easily dismiss the thought फिर भी आएगा, मेरे लिए क्यों नहीं. Thought फिर भी आएगा. It's how easily you can dismiss the thought. There will come a time when you're so easily able to dismiss the thought, you won't even register it's coming. आएगा and it'll not even cross the gates of your mind, of your conscious mind.
Just want to tell you one thing which I read in Bhagavatam, where the Parishit Maharaja was asking Sukdev Maharaj.
Not Sukdev Maharaj, Sukha.
Sukha, right.
Sukracharya.
Sukracharya. No, not Sukracharya. No, Sukracharya is a different person. It's Sukdev. He's the son of Vyasa.
Sukdev only.
Acha, okay.
He's the son of Vyasa.
हाँ.
Okay. Now Parishit is asking a question to Sukha. Then he asking the question. He says, how to get peace of mind? And the answer given is, look at those people who are below you, who have not been given the kind of facilities and other things. And then looking at them, you will get the peace of mind. And immediately, Parishit Maharaj shoots the question. I understand your answer, but there are more people who are above me. Now, what should I do with them? He said, you asked me the way to get the peace of mind. But if you want to lose the peace of mind, then look above them. This is the answer which has been given by Sukdev.
Yeah, and we'll add to that by saying, if you want to feel inspired or feel a sense of direction, definitely look at people who are above you, or people even among your peers who are able to achieve things you are not able to do. Look at it from a perspective of, okay, what can I do to get there? Because the idea is self-sufficiency. The idea is not sitting and complaining about why is the world not helping me. But if you want peace and if you want to cultivate gratitude, you look at the privileged position you hold in the larger scheme of things, the privileged position you hold in nature.
The emotion getting transferred from jealousy to right?
Absolutely. Okay, verse number 22. What was the question there? What is the question there? Okay, first is verse number 21. Okay, verse number 21. The lines from the end of the last paragraph. Krishna, identifying with the self, declares that he maintains faith and consistency of purpose, whether your pursuit be secular or sacred. What is meant by secular or sacred? Secular means non-spiritual. Secular means non-religious. Secular means anything mundane. It could be a material pursuit. It could be a pursuit of any kind of health. It could be a pursuit of a relationship, whatever. These are all secular pursuits. Whereas when the pursuit is of inner awakening, spiritual growth, religious devotion, it is a spiritual or a religious pursuit. Point is that the theme of Shraddha works everywhere. Shraddha is nothing but dedication. It is your capacity to see the conclusion of anything, the capacity to absorb an idea and make it your own, the capacity to reach to the end of what you have started, that consistency of purpose. Whatever the pursuit be, Shraddha is what will take you there. Verse number 22, the first type of seeker, the first types of seekers pursue happiness through wealth, solace. Their pursuits can never end until they reach the goal of infinite happiness. Brahman, being infinite, thus draws them out through the endless desire. What do you mean by drawing them out through the endless desire? Is this something he has said? Okay, the first three types of seekers pursue happiness through wealth, solace. Their pursuit thus draws, and the fourth are directly seeking. Okay. So what he's trying to point out is that what you are seeking is infinity, whereas wealth, solace, knowledge, all of these things are finite. So you're trying to, through endless pursuits, you're trying to add up finite joys to reach the infinite, but no amount of finite can amount to infinity. So endless desires, there's no end to the pursuit of happiness through wealth, solace, and knowledge. You'll keep you'll keep praying to the Lord. हाँ, यहाँ लिफ्ट करा दो, वहाँ लिफ्ट करा दो, हाँ, ये करा दो, वो करा दो. Please support me as I work out this problem in my family. Please support me as I achieve this in my career. Please support me as I do this with my whatever. Please help me improve this condition of my body. Please help me through this disease. Please give me longevity. All of these things bring a finite happiness. But what you truly seek, what you truly want, where will your pursuit end? Your pursuit will end with the achievement of the infinite. That's your real nature. That's what you're seeking. So only the pursuit of Brahman is infinite. Until and unless you become that jnani, even your prayer will be perpetual. Even your prayer will be endless. Okay. Okay. Verse number 20.
Sir, but you did not explain what do you mean by drawing out through endless desires? That was my question.
My question is, what does it mean by
Drawing out through endless
drawing them out through endless desires? So that pursuit of Brahman is what is actually driving all your pursuits. What you're truly seeking, even through your secular pursuits, even through your finite pursuits, is actually that infinite achievement of Brahman, right? Brahman is the goal. Who is acting? It is Brahman acting to achieve Brahman. It's just stuck in this loop of ignorance. So what you're truly seeking is infinite, right? So how do you end up seeking the infinite? Through this sort of path of ignorance. You end up seeking the infinite through endless desires. There's no end. That's what he means by that. That's why he says that eventually only the jnani, the fourth type of seeker, directly seeks and reaches the self. Verse number 24 is where we ended. The foolish think of me as the unmanifest, as having manifestation, not knowing my supreme nature, immutable, unsurpassed. So there will come a time in your worship when you have to ask, what is it that you're worshipping? Who is it that you're worshipping? Funny thing is, we worship, we go, we spend hours and hours, days and days planning a visit to our favorite temple. We plan so much, we sign up for VIP darshan. We want to do special puja. And the moment we reach the deity, the moment we reach the form, the moment we reach the sanctum where the idol is kept, we close our eyes. Almost feels like if you don't close your eyes, you're not praying, no? Imagine if you go to that idol and you open your eyes with your hands out there. Then someone else, maybe If a child is going and praying, the mother will nudge the child, hey, close your eyes, close your eyes. Any intelligent child would ask, we've come all the way to see the idol, and now when I'm in front of the idol, you're asking me to close my eyes. Huh? Nobody asks. Everyone is just doing the same thing, copying others. Oh, ये ऐसे चढ़ाना चाहिए, ऐसे करना चाहिए, ये मंत्र बोलना चाहिए. हाँ, whenever I used to go to the temple, my mom was like, ये मंत्र बोलो, ये मंत्र बोलो. What are we doing? What is it that we're worshipping? What they're saying is not wrong, but why are they saying it? Because worship is internal. Yes, that form which has been worshipped by millions and millions of people for thousands and thousands of years carries a certain potency, carries a certain deep symbolism. The moment you're in front of it, you can think of nothing else. You've already, it supports your internalization. Whatever you see, whoever you see, they have a certain identity, they have a certain symbolism, and that's the thought that comes in your mind. When you see Shah Rukh Khan, a certain thought comes in your mind. When you see Roger Federer, a certain thought comes in your mind. When you see Narendra Modi, a certain thought comes in your mind. When you see the Indian flag, a certain thought comes in your mind. Everything is an idol. It's an idol for the ideal they represent. When you see me in these clothes, a certain thought comes in your mind. Everything is an idol. An idol is only a symbol for the ideal. Please. Actually, हमारा worship निराकार है. हम आकार के थ्रू निराकार तक पहुंचने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. People don't understand this. Those who are in the Akar worship are stuck to their Akar. There's a branch of people, there's a branch of religions which has their own interpretation of Nirakar worship, and they are constantly at war. Idol worship versus idolless worship. भगवान श्री रजनीश ओशो कहते हैं, वो सच्चा निराकार नहीं है जिसे आकार में निराकार ना दिखे. To understand the purpose of the akar and see the nirakar, to gradually be able to relate and connect to the formless through the form, that is the progression. Ultimately, the depth of worship is in nirakar. Your idols also grow subtler and subtler. From the subtlest, the grossest idols are human forms. The grossest idols are human forms. It has been made most relatable. Oh, भगवान ऐसे हैं. आपको लगता है ये तो हमारे जैसी है. नहीं, उनके 4 हाथ हैं, उनके 10 हाथ हैं, उनके 5 मुख हैं, ये है वो है. Why? To make it slightly more supernatural. Then we graduate to becoming non-human forms. A stone, a shape. Then you think, oh, it's that shape. No, it's not that shape. You even go subtler. Fire is the subtlest element that is worshipped as divinity. The subtlest visible element. And there's a deep symbolism in that also. Upanishad में बहुत कहा गया है इसके बारे में. Why do we worship fire? Why do we worship fire? Anyone? हर साल, हर अगले महीने आप लोग यज्ञ करते हो. क्यों करते हो आप लोग यज्ञ? Why do you worship fire? And what do you pray? What is the bhasma you add? Any idea? Why do you worship fire?
Purification.
Purity.
प्योरिटी तो आपको एक स्पा में भी मिल जाएगा. यू डू दैट स्क्रब एंड यू प्यूरिफाई योरसेल्फ. What purity? What is the symbolism of fire? ठीक है, one is of course it purifies, but why? What is about fire? There's
We
something.
try
It's the only anti-gravity thing which goes up.
We try to burn our ego in fire.
What is it about fire that burns the ego? What is fire? Have you
It's
ever thought about
anti-gravity
that?
which
Good.
goes
I mean,
up.
you're in the right direction. Your fire burns away the
Ego.
ego, fuel.
The rajas.
What is fire?
Rajas,
Fire has the capacity to destroy everything, like to just finish off everything.
Correct. But what is fire? And you ever thought about that? Fire है क्या? Fire क्या
It's
करता है वो तो आपने
anti-gravity.
बता दिया, but है क्या fire? Where
It's
is
an
fire first
anti-gravity
of all?
which goes up.
Huh?
It's an anti-gravity which goes up, not, taking you to the higher world.
Okay, that's good symbolism. मतलब एक visual मिलता है, but fire आता कहाँ से है?
It is out of bunch of the Panch Mahabhutas.
But what is
earth,
ठीक है अब वो तो एक that is a ठीक है, it's a Panch Mahabhuta, but why do we worship it?
It's a form of energy.
Where is this energy?
Almost every.
in
our. It's in within us as well. The fire of digestion and
You are fire.
yeah, Ji.
Where is the fire? We say objects catch fire. Where is that fire coming from? Is it coming from somewhere else? आपने fire को बुलाया. When you rub things and create that friction, the fire emerges. That fire is within the fuel. You are nothing but fuel. Especially those of you who have been part of Chinmaya mission classes, you all should know this. Swami Chinmayananda loved this example. You are fuel, or you think you are fuel. You imagine yourself to be this fuel. But what you are actually is the fire that is unmanifest. अभी व्यक्त नहीं है, वो अव्यक्त है. But if you do enough manthan, that fire begins to manifest. And what does that fire consume? It consumes the very fuel. That fuel is the ego. So the fire that is unmanifest within you consumes the ego, consumes the fuel. The beautiful thing is that fire needs fuel to manifest. The moment the fuel ends, the fire also ends. That's the symbolism of Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is the fuel, Purusha is the Atman. Together they come, there is a manifestation. So they say the fire represents the Atman, the fire represents the divinity in you. It's hidden within you. You don't know it, you only see the fuel, you only see the ego. But as you walk the spiritual path, you slowly burn away the ego. So, next time you worship, next
The
time you do
fire is
yajna.
transformative that way.
Well, fire is the truth. It's not transformative, it is you. And when you discover yourself, you get transformed. Just 1 second. Sorry, my apologies. Okay. So, throughout our vast history of spiritual exploration, we have created many such idols And this is the reason why we worship. Ultimately, each idol has a deep symbolism. And that symbolism you have to understand. So that's why he says, those who don't try to understand that symbolism, those who mechanically worship, he's called them fools. The foolish think of me as manifest. I am actually the unmanifest, hidden within this manifestation. Try to reach, try to gain the wisdom, the knowledge of that unmanifest. And he continues, verse number 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah mudho yam nabhijanati loko mamajamavyayam. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah mudho yam nabhijanati loko mamajamavyayam. Avyayam, imperishable. Ajam, unborn. This deluded world knows me not, the unborn, the imperishable. Why? Because it's veiled by Yoga Maya. Veiled by Yoga Maya, I am not manifest to all. This interesting term called Yoga Maya, and there are different perspectives on what it implies. Specifically in Vaishnav thought, there are two kinds of Maya. One is Mahamaya and the other one is Yoga Maya. One can say they are different degrees of Maya. Mahamaya is when you live a life of complete indulgence and complete darkness. When you are an asura, when you even have no consciousness or awareness of the divinity. Yoga Maya is when you begin to suspect and walk the path of divinity, but still remain in this world of Maya, remain in this illusion. So you are walking the spiritual path, but you haven't attained liberation from Maya. So according to Vaishnavas, that is the meaning of Yoga Maya. Either way, you're in an illusion, you're in a state of delusion, right? Due to the gunas, due to your ego, you have created an idea of you distinct and separate from others, distinct and separate from divinity. And as a result of which, even though you're on the spiritual path, you have an idea of God as separate from you, you have an idea of divinity as distinct and different from you, something that you have to worship for certain desires of yours to be fulfilled, whatever. Because of Yoga Maya, you become an Artaha, an Artharthi, Jignasu. Take one or many of these identities. Which is why you're not able to know me in essence, he says. You're not able to know me. You're not able to know divine beyond the form, beyond this perishable form, as the formless, as the imperishable. So Arjuna is going to ask, what should I worship, form or formless? All of this is indicating that you should worship the formless. And just like in chapter 3 where he said, even though knowledge, you seem to say that knowledge is greater than action, what should I do? Action is the means. Similarly, he'll say, form is the means. Worship of the form is greater than the formless. Not because there's a better or a worse. Because all of us at a certain level of spiritual maturity need a form. You will always need a form. It could be in the form of a physical idol. It could be in the form of an abstract idol like fire. It could be in the form of a mantra. It could be in the form of a idea. It could be in the form of a sound. But form worship is very important. But you always have to understand that the form is a means, not the end. The symbolism of breaking the idol throughout our culture. It is said Tutapuri Maharaj, the guru of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, broke his idol of Ma Kali. And that's how he attained liberation. Breaking the idol is not to break it out of a disregard or a disrespect. No, it's a very specific message for that particular seeker that you have to go beyond the ideal, but at least get there, get to that state of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. With that ideal, you're able to get to Eka Bhakti. With the ideal, with the form, you're able to get to Eka Bhakti. Then you have to go beyond the form. When you go beyond the form, there's no bhakti, there is complete oneness. But because of yoga maya, because we are still in the state of maya, we are not able to go beyond the form, ultimately reach me. But the same form is the same prescription to help you reach the zenith of evolution, at which point you're able to forego the form. But always remember that all forms are a means to the formless. All forms are the symbolism. The ideal represents the ideal. The form represents that which is formless, that which is achintya, that which is incomprehensible. Verse number 26. Balaji, we'll hold on to your question, we'll take it at the end of class. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kaschana. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kaschana. O Arjuna, Arjuna, I know the beings of the past, the present, and the future, but no one knows me. Another very mystical thing that the Lord is saying out here. I, the self, the Atman in you, the Atman knows the beings of the past, the present, the future, but no one, no particular individual, no ego knows me. Again, highlighting that I, me is incomprehensible. It is that achintya, it is that imperishable, beyond all these perishable forms. People get very fascinated by this. It's not a big deal. Om Swami, in one of his videos on death, he claims that at a certain stage of spiritual maturity, at a certain stage where you are so evolved, you're sitting in meditation for hours and hours, you have completely let go of body consciousness, and you've attained a certain realm of awareness, of pure consciousness. In that stage, you're able to even access previous incarnations of yours. I'm not saying this is Om Swami saying it. If you're able to sufficiently let go of this ego, this you currently, you get this panoramic view of your life. A life beyond your birth, a life beyond your death. Now, you, the ego right now, wants to know it for some other reasons. Let me do a past life regression so that I can fix something in this life right now. That's not why Om Swami is doing it. There's a reason why nature makes you forget. There's a reason for Apohanam. Please surrender to that plan of nature. If nature wanted you to remember, they would have made you remember. That crap from the past has ended. Leave it alone. Don't mess with it. Don't play with fire. But the reason I'm telling you this is because if you attain the vantage point of the self, if you rise from this egoistic vision and you sufficiently detach yourself from your ego, if you reach that state of meditativeness, what is meditation? It is going closer and closer and closer to Sakshi Bhav. It is going closer and closer and closer to the self within you, which is the witness of everything. you begin to get access to the vantage point of the self. And here, Lord Krishna, as the self, as the Atman, is saying, I know the beings of the past, the present, and the future. Because I was there in the past. What was there in your previous incarnation? This body wasn't there. Nor was this mind present there. It's the self in you which is pervading your past, it's present right now, and it will pervade into your future. It will remain unchanging. Your body keeps changing. Your mind keeps evolving and changing. You're much larger than this individual you imagine yourself to be. So, mystically speaking, he tells Arjuna, I am not this form that you imagine yourself, me to be. I am not just this Krishna you imagine me to be. This Krishna has a beginning, this Krishna has an end. The same message he gave to Uddhav in the Uddhav Gita. I am that self in you which knows the past, which is here in the present, and will know the future. But you and everybody else, no one has access to it all. Forget the past and the future. You don't even remember what happened 10 days ago. Huh? Vijayji, what did you eat for lunch 10 days ago?
Absolutely no idea.
Some people have made a menu so they'll remember. Especially if you live in the ashram, you know exactly. We used to know Wednesday evening is going to be paratha day. So you ask me any day what I had, I know exactly what I had. But you get the idea. You have no idea. You forgot 99% of your experiences you've forgotten. Who was sitting next to you when you came to class? Rashmiji, who was sitting next to you when you came to class? Not last time. To Rashnaji's house 3 months ago. Who was sitting next to you? Thank God we don't remember. Otherwise, we would remember every single nonsense. 99.99% of your experiences are nonsense. And nature is doing a great favor to you to help you forget. Verse number 27. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. O Bharata, O Arjuna, O Bharata, O great child of this soil, by the delusion of the pairs of opposites arising from desire and aversion, all beings are subject to illusion at birth. In this one simple verse, he's giving you the theory of creation according to Vedanta. See, there are hundreds and hundreds of stories of creation. In this culture, we don't have a particular story of creation. All of the stories are trying to convey to you this theory of creation. And what is the theory of creation? The theory of creation is this created world is an illusion. From the reality has arisen this illusion, just as from the rope has arisen the snake. The snake is imaginary, the rope is real. This world is imaginary, the reality is what you have to reach. But you are stuck in this illusion. And what is this illusion? The most primary, elementary, empirical ingredients of this illusion are the gunas. Of course, there are theories. There is Mahatattva. If you read the Bhagavatam and you read other texts, there are all sorts of theories about it. And you can go through a rabbit hole of that. There are Mahatattvas, and then there are Tanmatras. You'll have heard of that. Some of you asked the question also, what is Panchikarna? Right? So Panchikarna is a theory of, from the Mahatattvas and how from the Tanmatras, how are gross elements created. Point is, there are these essential empirical ingredients of ignorance, of this illusion, of this Maya, and they manifest into grosser forms, right? So in a subtler form, these elements manifest as desire, as ichha, and those very subtle elements manifest further into gross elements as this manifest world. By the delusion of the pairs of opposites arising from desire and aversion, what is perpetuating this illusion? What is perpetuating this world of ignorance is your desire. Is your ignorance that I am not complete, I am not whole, and if I get that, I will be happy. If I achieve that, I will be full. You're looking for fullness, and your search for fullness has happened in the form of desire. You know not you are already full. Because of your ignorance, you develop a void within you, and with this void, you go and search for things and beings, for experiences which will help you fill the void. And just as you think certain things will fill the void, you think certain things also take away from you. They increase the void. So you develop a attraction to some things and an aversion to some things. That's the pairs of opposites, the dvandvas. This world of illusion is nothing but an expression of dvandvas. Things which you are attracted to because you imagine that they will fill you in some way, and things you are averse to because you imagine that they will take away from you or increase this void that you feel. Anyway, I have really made concise a very grand theory of creation. But this is what he means by the delusion of the dvandvas, the pairs of opposites. Dvandva mohena. All beings are subject to illusion at birth. You are born because you are in this illusion. You are born because you have these vasanas, which manifest as attachments and desires, raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes. If you want to walk the spiritual path, you have to come in between the two armies. Senayor ubhayor madhye. That's a symbolism of Krishna going to the middle of the battlefield. Between the right and the wrong, between the good and the bad, between what you like and what you dislike, between what you are attracted to and what you are averse to. You have to develop that objectivity. You have to rise above this. So, Bharata, by the delusion of the pairs of opposites, all beings are subject to illusion. Because they are subject to illusion, they are stuck in their idea of the world, they are stuck in their idea of God, and those ignorant, the foolish, the mudhas, who don't investigate into the mystery of life, they will develop all sorts of theories. They develop all sorts of beliefs. This is right, this is wrong. This is God, this is not God. And they keep on fighting with each other and they keep on perpetuating this ignorance. That's why he's called them mudhas. O Bharata, there's a reason he's using the name Bharata. O Bharata, your purpose out here is to rise above this illusion. That is what it means to be a Bharata. This is the unique capacity of this land. To be an Indian, to be a Bharata, to be born into this soil, is to be born into the spiritual journey of discovering the truth. A Bharata is not someone who is broad-chested, muscular, able to defeat everyone, establish world dominance. That's not the identity of a Bharata. A Bharata is one who is spiritually illumined. So, O Dhananjaya, become Mananjaya. This is the long, continuous call of all the sages. Wake up. Wake up. That's your purpose. Verse number 28. See, I can talk a lot more about this. Okay? We can go on and on and on and on and on. And there'll be a chance when we'll talk about this concept of creation. But I'm saying a little. It's going to invite some questions. I'm happy to take more questions because it's one thing for me to talk from a very abstract perspective, and everything will fly over everyone's head. I'm saying a little bit so that some questions come from you. You ask questions, I'll say a little more. You ask some more questions, I'll say a little more. Right? And that's the way we perhaps understand this or develop a comfort with this idea of Maya, with this idea of illusion more and more. Verse number 28. I'm also determined to complete this chapter today. 3 more verses. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam dridhavrataha. But those men of virtuous deeds whose sins have come to an end, they, freed from the delusion of pairs of opposites, they worship me with firm resolve. So is there a way, is there a path out of this illusion? It seems like a never-ending pit. It seems like a rabbit hole we've all been thrown into. How do you come out of this? Those men of virtuous deeds, punya karma. No doubt, punya and papa, this is our real wealth. Your real wealth is not your bank balance. How much punya you've done and how much papa you've done is your real wealth. But punya is not an end in itself. See, punya will give you a lot of joy in life. Punya will bring you a lot of pleasure in life. Punya will bring you opportunity and position. The reason you are all out here sitting peacefully in a world full of chaos is because of punya. But this punya is not an end in itself. This is the mistake people made. Punya karenge, khushi hogi, and we get complacent in punya. No. Punya is a stepping stone for spiritual inquiry. If you are stuck in the web of papa, if you are living an agitated life, which is because of papa, if you're completely deluded, and trust me, you just have to look around you. How many people are stuck in so many problems? Material problems, physical problems, emotional problems. And they spend their entire lives just trying to solve one thing after the other. The moment they solve something, 5 more things come up. Even to have wisdom of how to deal with a problem properly is because of punya. Even that capacity to lift yourself, pull yourself out of a problem is because of punya. Otherwise, most people are not even able to lift themselves out. One problem leads them into deeper problems. To ask the right questions, to seek the right help, to have the right awakening in the midst of a chaos, that's also punya. So through virtuous deeds, you find yourself in a state of peace. You find yourself in a place free of agitation, which is what he means by whose sins have come to an end. Sin is mental agitation. Sin is mental agitation because of choices you have made. We've discussed this before. So when you do punya and when you achieve a certain state of spiritual maturities, your sins have been destroyed. You are able to retain a sense of poise, a sense of peace, a sense of calm, a sense of objectivity. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam. Every morning we chant this. What does it mean? Through our tapas, through our virtuous deeds, we have removed all our sins. Papanam, kshina papanam, shantanam vitaraginam. We have achieved shanti, we have achieved a state of relative peace and a resolve to pursue the higher. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam. And within us we have cultivated a desire to learn about the mystery of life. Mumukshunam apekshoyam. The desire for liberation, the desire for awakening, that's mumukshatva. So those men who live virtuous lives, who do the good, who follow the path of dharma, who play their role to the best of their abilities, who perform karma yoga. These are all what is meant by virtuous deeds. Virtuous deeds doesn't mean feeding a Brahmin or feeding homeless people. It's not just that. Of course, you should do all those things. But what is meant by virtuous deeds? Thought, word, deed, everything. At every level, you're practicing karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. That's virtuous deeds. You're living a spiritual life. You're not just paying lip service to spirituality. And through these virtuous deeds, your sins completely come to an end. You become a peaceful person. And as you become more and more objective, as you delve deeper into spiritual knowledge, you free yourself from delusion. You free yourself from attachment. You become more and more detached. And as you become more and more detached, you grow from being a bhogi to a yogi to a sannyasi. We said last time, your worship strengthens in its resolve. You go from being completely deluded in the world to begin to suspecting maybe there's a divinity beyond the tip of my nose, to developing a conviction that I need to seek the divine, I need to reach the divine. They worship me with firm resolve. Slow and gradual evolution. So this is the way out of the illusion. You have landed in this illusion, but you yourself can lift yourself up. We're all there to help you with all the satsang and with all the support, but the deeds will have to be performed by you. Karma bhakti jnana, day in, day out. Till not a trace of selfishness is left within you. Till not a trace of ego is left within you. At every point when the ego pops up, dismiss it. That is an expression of your mastery of the yogas. Every negative thought that comes up, you don't belong here. Every jealousy that comes up, you don't belong here. Every attachment that comes up, you don't belong here. That capacity to turn yourself nirmala, that is nirmala. कबीरा मन निर्मल भयो जैसे गंगा नीर पीछे पीछे हरि फिरे कहत कबीर. Turn your mind pure, nirmala. The dirt of your ego will keep arising in you. Why? Because there is vastness, because there is so many seeds of ignorance within you. But slowly you develop that spiritual strength. Please recall that example. I'm not going to rush this. We'll take the last two verses in the next class. I'm not going to rush this. Because this example is important. Because this is the very essence of whatever we are doing out here. This is sadhana. Remember, you are a garden. And you have hundreds and millions of seeds within you. But any of you who have done gardening, you know, you can't eliminate all the weeds. What you can do is strengthen, give rise, give opportunity to the plant you want to grow, you want to cultivate, which will involve some weeding in the beginning, some particular attention in the beginning. But if you give the thought you want to cultivate enough initial momentum, that will take care of everything else. Once the plant you want to grow in your field develops a certain momentum, the weeds will not even have a chance to come up. So if you dedicate yourself with Shraddha to cultivating spiritual thoughts, all other negative thoughts, in the beginning they may trouble you, weed them out. Eventually your Shraddha will give you so much of Shakti, no negative thought will be allowed to enter your mind. It will come and it will be dismissed. Your yogas, the yogas are a dwarapalikas. You go to any temple, each god will have dwarapalikas. Sometimes different gods are dwarapalikas of some other god. Dwarapalikas means protectors. It's very symbolic. Negativities will always come. The dwarapalikas will stand in the way. No, you don't belong here. The temple is nothing but your mind. The deity is nothing but the self at the core of it, at the heart of it. And all thoughts all desires. In verse number 55 of chapter 2, what does he say? Verse number 55 of chapter 2. Arjuna asks a question in verse number 54. Who is a Sthita Prajna? Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhashita kimasita vrajeta kim. And he says, Prajahati yada kaman. I'll say it before I put it up, because then you'll say, no, he needs to see it. Huh? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogathan. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogathan atmanyev atmana tushtaha sthita prajnasya dochyate. Verse number 55. Is it right? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyev atmana tushtaha sthita prajnasya dochyate. Rashmi ji, I'll give you your full list, you have to memorize, but this is definitely among them. Huh?
So I've written it.
Every time I look at chapter 2, which verses to memorize? Oh God, I think I'll have to memorize all 72 verses. Every one is a pearl. The reason I'm bringing attention to this verse, when one completely casts off desires of the mind, all desires of the mind, manogatan. Manogatan implies one that is entering your mind. Manogat kamna. Gati. They are entering your mind with a certain speed. And your sadhana is that dwarapalika which will block its entry. Right now, the gati of these thoughts are so fast, and the protection of your sadhana is so weak that any thought comes and invades your mind. Before you know it, you get carried away by a certain negative thought. Your sadhana will reduce the propensity and the speed of that invading thought, and also strengthen the protection of your own mind. That's where we have to get. And that's where we will get, with consistent and constant sadhana. With that thought, we'll conclude today. I've already taken up a few extra minutes. Balaji, you had a question. Thank you, everyone. We can conclude. You can watch this Q&A after class, but I'm happy to stay for some time and take any questions, if there are.
You gave an example of fire and fuel when we were talking about the manifest and unmanifest. So can you just tell me what is the fire and what is the fuel here?
Every human being is a combination of Prakriti and Purusha. The Purusha is the fire, the Prakriti is the fuel. Since you're asking technically, what is the symbolism? That fire, the reason we worship fire is because the Purusha is what we want to reach. The Purusha is what we worship. That is the God, God within you. That is the Godhead within you. Which is why they also say fire is a conduit for connecting with the divinity. Why? Because it is verily that divinity. It is the subtlest aspect of that divinity. So just as fire exists within the fuel, within a piece of wood, there is fire. It is just avyakt, unmanifest. When you do the churning, when you create that friction, fire doesn't come from anywhere else. Fire comes from within that fuel. Yes, you may need catalysts to start the fire. That is your satsang. That is your guru. That is the jnanam. That is the bhakti. You may need the catalyst. But ultimately, what is that fire? It is emerging from within you. It is not coming from somewhere outside. So the divinity is not something that exists outside and you have to reach it. No, it is within you and you have to invoke it. Just like fire is invoked from fuel. And what does the fire consume? The fire consumes the very fuel. The Purusha consumes the very Prakriti, as it were. It consumes the ego, Ahankara. It burns it away. It burns away your vasanas. So as you unfold the Atman, your vasanas get burnt away. Just as you light the fire, the fuel gets burnt away. And the way to make fire manifest is sadhana, is churning, is the friction. It's using fuel. You're using your fuel to make fire manifest. You have to use your buddhi, your subtle intellect. You have to use your mind for bhakti. You have to use your intellect for jnanam. You have to use your body for karma. That is like creating that friction, that spiritual friction, which will. So you're using fuel to invoke fire, which will consume fuel. Just like you're using your positive vasanas to invoke and manifest the Godhead within you, which will consume your vasanas. That's the symbolism, which is why fire has been worshipped. This comes in multiple Upanishads, this symbolism, which is why they have deep reverence. Which is why they say the greater the invocation of the fire, the greater the fire is manifesting, they think, oh, it's a greater manifestation of the Atman, as it were. That's why they worship it. That's why it's considered, good if the fire is cooperating. It means more and more of that divinity is manifesting and more fuel is getting burnt successfully. It's symbolic.
One last question. You have been explaining the chapter where I was going through the book where it says the prism is there, the imperishable and perishable.
Yeah.
How the ignorance comes in the birth itself.
Hmm.
Now, Swamiji explains with the prism where the colorless light goes to the prism, gives way for the Vibgaya. This I am able to understand. The word of plurality is observed from the colorless because of the prism. Now, in the prism, the three sides he has given us, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas.
Correct.
On the three triangles, the three sides of the triangles represent the
Yeah.
Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, right? Now, my question is that can you give me a bit more clarity on the prism with these gunas? Is it that the coloration of the prism is happened because of that particular thing?
So, okay, first of all, if Swamiji loves these examples from physics. So you'll have to appreciate the concept of physics to understand what is relevant in this example and what is not relevant in this example. And if I remember my physics clearly, if I remember it well, there is a certain, a prism is a way in which, again, I may be technically getting it wrong, but the wavelength of different types of light differ. So when they enter the material medium of the prism, that's why they bend in a different angle. And then they emerge from the other side of the prism as distinct bands of the individual light. So colorless light is actually a unity, and the pluralistic world is the individual bands of those colors which actually make up the colorless, right? Now, the gunas have been represented as this prism. The gunas which are a result of avidya, the gunas which are a result of ignorance, and because guna meets purusha, guna represents prakriti. Prakriti is what is guna, purusha is gunatita, but because prakriti meets purusha, there is this interaction. The colorless light meets the prism, and therefore it scatters into a plurality, a world of differentiation, a world of I versus you, I different from you, right? And the reason we are seeing this is because of gunas. So that is what is trying to be conveyed through this example of the prism. Does that address your question?
Okay, I just want to reaffirm my understanding. What you are saying is the prism is represented by the gunas. The Atman through the gunas represents or gives me the pluralistic word. Am I right in my understanding?
the Atman being seen through the lens of the gunas appears as distinct and different beings. It's like you're seeing is pure light, but you have in front of you a blue lens. You'll see everything blue, right? So the gunas is that lens. The light is pure. Here the guna is the prism. You're seeing light which is an outcome of the prism. Just as you're seeing individual beings through the lens of their gunas or as their gunas. The moment you move back, the moment you move deeper, the moment you go beyond the gunas, what you'll recognize is that that person is verily the Atman. It's colorless. If I learn to see beyond the colors of the gunas, if I'm able to pierce through their various material layers, their personality, and see that the light of life within them, that pure consciousness within them, it is the same as that light within me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Sorry for the extension. In one place, you have talked about going beyond the names and forms, to see the underlying reality. So this is another way. Is going beyond the gunas is another way of seeing the underlying reality. Is it right?
Because of the gunas, you develop an individuality, right? Because of the gunas, you have developed an individuality of orange, which is different from the individuality of blue. So what is orange? Orange is a nama, which is different from the nama of blue. And orange has a certain appearance. It has a rupa, which is different from the appearance of blue. So the difference between orange and blue is simply nama rupa. If you trace it back, if you go beyond nama rupa, what remains is colorless light. The nama rupa is coming about because of the gunas. The nama rupa belongs to the gunas. Beyond nama rupa, beyond gunas is pure light, pure consciousness.
Is it the attributes of the nama rupa is the attributes of the guna or the guna itself?
See, one and the same. But if you want to split hairs about it, first come gunas, and because of gunas, you have to identify them. You have to assign them they assume a form, right? So the moment they assume a form, you find a way to describe that form. That is nama. So because of gunas comes rupa, and you give that rupa a nama, so it's nama rupa. But essentially, gunas are nothing but nama rupa. That's how it is. That's how you know a guna. You identify tamas. The name of tamas itself is a name, nama. Right? And then you get into permutations and combinations. 50% tamas, 25% rajas, 25% sattva looks like a certain kind of person. When a person is 75% sattva, 20% rajas, and 5% tamas, they have a certain kind of appearance. There'll be a glow in them because of all the sattva. So they have a certain rupa, and you'll give them a beautiful name. You'll call them, I don't know, Nirmal. You'll give them the name Nirmal. Why? Because all the pure sattva is manifesting in them. So because of the combination of gunas, there is a rupa, and that rupa you give a certain nama. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Anji, Rituji.
Namaste, Utsavji. So basically, I wanted to understand the word secular a little bit for common. Of course, it is not, it's a little away from the discussion that on one side. But secular, as the term is, you mentioned it's non-religious, non-spiritual. So, I mean, I just wanted to understand that would secular mean non-partisan? in a way, or its usage can depend, I mean, changes from context to context.
So look, and I don't mean to dismiss your question, but the it's important to I mean, especially when the word when the discussion is coming about a particular word, it's very important to see the context in which that word is used and what could be the specific implication of the word in that context. We're not interested in all implications of what the word secular means, maybe from a political lens, maybe from a whatever lens. We're simply interested in, okay, this word secular has been used in a particular context in this verse explanation. I'm simply interested in that context because the word secular can have multiple and many other connotations, especially in a word like in a country like India. So I'll go back to where this word was used. And Rashmiji, since it was your question, can you help me identify? Because I think,
21.
huh?
Verse 21. I think.
Ah. This happens because your original self, your real being, remains ever supreme, infinite. Your being of infinite stature, your pursuits can never find fulfillment until they take you to that ultimate state. Krishna, identifying with the self, declares that he maintains your faith and consistency of purpose, whether your pursuit is secular or sacred. So, given that this particular verse is talking about, what is it saying? Whatever form a devotee seeks to worship. And why do you worship different forms? Because you fall into one or other categories of devotees. You are an artaha, an artharthi, a jignasu, and a jnani. Right? So if you want to split hairs over it, here perhaps secular means the artharthi, the artaha, and the jignasu, and sacred means the jnani. Right? Secular means those whose ultimate motive is not spiritual enlightenment, it is using the divinity as a means to achieve their various desires in life. Material desires, emotional desires, physical desires, intellectual desires, desires for name, fame, prosperity, health, wealth, whatever it be. These are all the realm of secular desires. And sacred is given to that spiritual awakening. That alone is sacred. That unfoldment of divinity within you, that alone is sacred, right? So is it partisan? Is it not partisan? And there's no context of politicization of this word out here. We're not interested in that out here, right? So staying simply because we're interested in studying this particular text, it's important to see it from what is the context he used in. God knows 40 years ago when he wrote this commentary, and it was written about 40 years ago now. If I'm not wrong, it was in the he's in chapter 7. This was volume 2. He was writing this in the early 90s. Swamiji was writing this in the early 90s. Now that time, why use this word? But thank God he gave a context to it, right? So.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, why you have added Visarga in 28 verse, like Te Dvandva Moha Nirmuktaha.
Might be a mistake. 1 second. No, it's not a mistake. Look at the word. See, always look at the whenever you're chanting, always look at the actual word that is being combined into sort of, with Sandhi rules. So what is the word? The word is Dvandva Moha Nirmuktaha. Right? When you're chanting, because there are different methods to chant. And one method to chant is say the entire line in one go. I've explained this multiple times. Yesham tvantavagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. I'm not pausing. Te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Right? If you chant like that without pausing, you say the whole thing, you don't add the visarga. But because the traditional method, the way we chant is, we break it up. So wherever we break, we have to honor what is the actual word. It helps preserve it. Otherwise, see, remember, so much of this was passed on orally, not written. When it's passed on orally, these rules become extremely important. Because when you're breaking, you want to preserve, because it's all transmitted by sound. You want to preserve what is the actual word, which is why all these rules of sandhis were created in the first place, right? So, what is the word? The word is dvandva moha nirmuktaha. Nirmuktaha, right? Which is why when we pause, we say te dvandva moha nirmuktaha, because we want to take a breath. Bhajante mam dridhavrataha, right? So when you split these words, it will be te dvandva. Actually, dvandva itself is a word. Dvandva moha nirmuktaha is also a consolidated words of three different words. It's dvandva moha nirmuktaha. Complete freedom. Nirmuktaha. Right? So nirmuktaha in the past tense, when you are freed, completely freed. Complete freedom is nirmuktaha. In the past tense, when you have been freed, when you become freed, nirmuktaha. Freed, matlab ho gaya hai. So those men who have been freed from the pairs of opposites. Why? Because of this sadhana. That's just the tenses being used.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. With that
Maybe in
knowledge-
the next class you give more on the punya. This is also a very we don't general parlance, we don't understand what is punya.
So conceive a question, what exactly you want to know, and I'm happy to ask about it. So formulate a question, think about what exactly you would like to know, and we'll definitely address it. Okay. Hari Om. We'll see you again on Tuesday.
Thank you, sir.